Hello there. So I did go live earlier and I fucking talked too much, which I always do, but once I get going, it's hard to stop. So I went 20 minutes, must have blacked out. I'm filming it again because I want it to fit on IGTV, but also I think this information is just really important. Okay, so I put out a question or survey last weekend asking people what kind of content they wanted to see or what questions they had, and I got a lot of questions about abs. And I mean, that's probably because I don't wear a shirt very much. I mean, you got to give the people what they want, right? But also, I just genetically have abs. I'm 36 years old. I don't have kids, but I've always not carried very much body fat on the top half of my body, as my little friend so delicately pointed out the other day. And that's fine, I don't give a shit. 20 years ago, my body was not what was desirable. Nowadays, it's working for me, especially in this field, which is so fucked up because, you know, when boobs were the thing, the only way that I could ever fit in or be the beauty ideal was to get surgery. Like, how fucked up is that? And yeah, you could work for something like an ass, but if you, don't carry a lot of weight on your lower half, it's hard. But at least you can do it non-surgically. Still, most don't. Which brings me to the first thing about abs, which no one wants to hear. Genetics. It's a big, big genetic thing. Think about it. The reason why it's so desirable is because not that many people have it. And when I have visible abs, I'm hungry. I talked about that last Friday. It's not like, it doesn't come easily to me. It is not the first place where I generally will add weight, but I know that I'm filling out or eating more or whatever when I can't see any ab definition. And you know what? Having ab definition really helps my bottom line. So I'm hungry a lot of the time. And I tell that to people because you gotta know, this is the work that I do day in and day out. I'm talking to you motherfuckers on the phone. I'm like dancing around in front of the camera and shit, right? Most of you guys, I think, are like have full-time jobs and regular lives, and you generally wear a shirt. So it's kind of insane to think of you going to the lengths that I go to or other people in this industry go to fit the beauty ideal. Is it fucked up? Yeah, it's fucked up. Trust me, I know. But that's also why I'm so honest about it. We all know what it takes to get abs. You have to be hungry, for the most part. And so I don't have to say for the most part or generally 1,000 times. It's never 100%. I know people who have abs and they don't fucking work out. Like, one of my friends is a former model. She's in her 40s, she has a kid, and she has a fucking six-pack. But her genetics are different from everybody else's, right? My other friends who walk around with six-packs tend to be very high-level athletes. Also, like, I can work my ass off, I'm never gonna qualify for the Olympics, right? So again, that does go hand in hand with genetics. Now, men can generally get a six-pack more easily than women can because men can get a lot leaner than women can. And they can get a lot leaner than women should. And I say should because our health, we're designed differently, right? We are designed to have more body fat. And when our body fat goes too low, we lose our periods. And when we lose our periods, it sounds awesome, but without estrogen, your bones become brittle, for lack of a better word. So seeking out abs as a woman too, when it's not like me, I'm probably like 22% body fat and I have abs, maybe 20, I don't know. It depends on how hungry I am, I guess. But most women have to really fucking starve themselves to get ab definition. Men, it also depends on the way that you carry your fat, right? All of my brothers have big legs too, but we're a very muscular family, Vikings. And so they can also get ab definition. We're just muscular people, which is fucking awesome, but wasn't when I was in high school. Anyway, what do you have to eat? Well, I want to talk about that before I get into my big fucking rant that I was on earlier, because most people think that you have to avoid carbs. I'm here to tell you that you do not have to avoid carbs. Women especially need carbs. It's men too, because it's really important for recovery, but women especially, again, because our hormones are so different from men's. And we have to really we have to be healthy enough to have periods for lots of reasons because of the other hormones that we produce. When I got my leanest last year and I had like a pretty defined 4-pack, I was still eating like 350 grams of carbs on heavy training days. I train really hard and I eat really hard. And those two things do go hand in hand. If you're doing like, a spin class once a week and a yoga class once a week, you're not gonna be able to eat as much as me. I fucking love food, I love throwing down, and I also like having abs. So I train really hard and then I eat really hard. And then when I want more definition, I eat really sad. I eat a lot of meat and a lot of rice, and that's it, as I said in the last video. So don't neglect carbs. You have to be in a calorie deficit, but you also have to have muscle to show under it. And that's the other problem. When you see people training in the gym, their abs, it's a fucking nightmare, especially for a Pilates instructor. I've been doing Pilates since I was 17 years old, and I'm so fucking grateful for it because it gave me an understanding about my body that really nothing else has. And I've done a lot of really great educational stuff for my career, but Pilates really teaches something that I don't think anybody else touches on. And it's not just control, but it's also working the deep stabilizing muscles that we so neglect. So when you see people in the gym doing crunch, it's like twisting like that and shit. Like, oh my God, your poor back. And usually it's like a ton of hip flexor, which PS, if you're developing your hip flexor muscles and they're muscles that bulge, guess what your low abs are going to do? It's like totally counterproductive when you're swinging your legs around. Your abs and your core, really, their main job is stabilization, right? Stabilization, anti-rotation, especially if you're doing squats, bench, and deadlift. You want to keep as rigid of a torso as possible because the weight is going to be on you, pushing you one way or another, and you have to be able to resist it. So when I'm doing powerlifting specific training, I'm doing a lot of pure stabilization work. So like ab wheel, saw with the ball, those are my favorites. But in my off season, I do a lot more flexion stuff. There's a way to do it well. I'm going to touch on that at another time because that's a whole thing on its own. But by doing a lot of flexion, right, I can get my 6-pack muscle, which is the most superficial of the muscles here, which is why you have to be very lean for them to show. But I also just really enjoy ab training. Most people skip abs. At the end of their workout, they're fucking lazy, like I am with stretching, but I always, unless I'm running really fucking late, will do an ab exercise. And I like how my body feels when I do them, but I really like how my body looks when I do them. So right now I'm not training for powerlifting, which is also allowing me to be leaner than I do when I am doing powerlifting, because it's fucking stupid to eat too little when you're trying to gain strength. So there's a right and wrong way to train. If you're not sure how to really train your abs, you need to learn how, because it's not something that's just like, oh yeah, common knowledge. You have to learn it from somewhere. And just like I was saying with lifting, you have, and diet for that matter, you have to check the credentials of the person you're working with. If they got their certification online and that was pretty much it, like, you don't want to take advice from them. Not unless they have like, like an established career or experience or something that they're bringing to the table that lets you know that they know what they're talking about, because it is not something that's just ingrained in us. Our first test is hard, but it's shit we never use again. And it's really just to be like, okay, if you're focused enough to pass this stupid fucking test and give us a lot of money, then we can just let you fuck these people's bodies up. You got to do other continuing education stuff, right? To be smart about it. So seek that out. But again, I am going to be posting more ab exercises and really directions on how to better engage your abs, not only for aesthetics, but also so that you can have a safe and happy workout with your back. A lot of lifters say, well, I squat, bench, and deadlift, or squat and deadlift especially, so I don't need to do ab training. That is ab training. How many people do you know who squat and deadlift really well? Not that many. I mean, I rarely see it. I mean, it depends on the gym that you go to and the crowd that you're with, right? But most people, I mean, they're doing what I call the Shakira in their squat, and they're doing the stripper deadlift in their deadlift. And so they're not bracing. They don't understand intra-abdominal pressure. They don't really understand how to create a tight brace with anything other than a big inhalation. And most people breathe like shit, PS. So yeah, no, you can't rely on that solely. Like, you have to, just like you have to refine other areas of your squat, you have to challenge your core in different ways. And it's going to be a game changer for you in the success of your lifts and your strength. Big believer in that. Far and away, my biggest issue with my squat, and deadlift for that matter, is bracing. It's something happens when it gets really heavy, I get in my head, whatever. It's the beauty of powerlifting. So then the other thing I'm going to talk about is steroids. You got to know, most women are not capable of having a six-pack like that. Like that meaning like CrossFit Games athletes. I'm not trying to call anybody out. They're CrossFit Games athletes. But most women don't know anything about steroids. Guys are often exposed to it in high school, like their gym teacher and stuff, which is fucked up because like you can destroy your body for life doing it, especially at that young age. And you'll be dependent on it for the rest of your life. But women largely are not exposed to it. They're not told about the side effects, but they really don't know that a lot of the women in our industry who are peddling their diet and exercise program are actually using steroids. It's important to disclose that because their results generally aren't attainable for most people without PEDs. I don't use PEDs. I don't really know that much about PEDs. It's really working at bodybuilding gyms where I'm like, holy fuck, everybody uses steroids. I've had bad skin my whole life. I'm not fucking with my skin. So I don't want to act like I'm on a high horse. We all have shit. Like I said, I starve myself so I can have fucking abs. We're all part of the problem. But if you train women and they're under the impression that they are doing something wrong, or they need to spend more money, or they need to try to do 2-a-days, which are insane for most people who aren't on PEDs, then I think you got to ask yourself, is that ethical? Like, is that right? Because a lot of women, you know, the women that I train probably 80% women. They'll see women who have like really nice abs be like, oh, that's what I want. Like, okay, well, it's going to cost you like money and your health. You might not agree with me on this. I know, let me just say, I know so many friends of mine and athletes who I respect and look up to who we're all pretty sure use PEDs. I'm not bashing the use of that. I don't give a fuck what you do. Do any drug you want. I beg you. But see it this way. If I got a breast augmentation and I made a program about how, or I started saying like, oh, I have this like secret way that you can grow your breasts, and the number one thing isn't go see a surgeon, that's fucking unethical to me. You don't have to make a huge post about it like, hey everyone, I'm on this illegal drug. No, but there are ways to address the fact that some of these results, like Brett Contreras does that, I love it, because he doesn't call his clients out, but he says, you can't expect to get results like this necessarily. You can work your ass off, but your genetics, and even your genetics and how they affect PEDs will affect your results. It's really important for you to know that, because if you continue to try to force your body to be something it's not, take it from me, it's not going to turn out well. Because I tried for so long. You have to come to terms with the fact that your body is the way that it is. You can make it the best that it can be, but you can't, you know, this with their fucking CrossFit's just one of my favorite examples, because I know women who destroy their body with CrossFit and try to follow like paleo and shit, when it's like, that doesn't work for general population. So that might not have been the ab thing you wanted to hear, but it's what needs to be heard. If you have questions, let me know. Love you guys. There it is.